Hey guys, what's going on? Shaw here, and today in this video we're going to break down a 24 Junkyard that I ran with some of my friends. This was a 2-chested key. I wanted to walk through our general routing, the strats that we used, kind of our thought process throughout the key, and yeah, that's pretty much it. So enjoy. Oh, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Alright, so there's a ton to break down in this video. So first things first, I'm on my Guardian Druid. We are running Resto Shaman, Demonology Warlock, Frost Mage, Fury Warrior. So our comp's a little strange. We don't have a whole lot of meta in here. We don't have your Serve Hunters, your Rogues, your Destro Locks, or whatever it might be. So the name of the game here is fast tracking bots. That's if you're ever looking at the leaderboard, or if you're ever looking at like the highest timed keys and you're seeing like 2-chested Junkyards at like 28, 29. The reason why is because the bots scale with key level. So essentially what you can always do is, as long as you're getting bots right off the bat, you are going to be able to pretty much complete the key, even if you're pulling a little bit slower than normal. Now the trash in here is scary, and as long as you have shock bots and welding bots and grease bots, most of the trash is going to get on pretty fine. So what we've done already at the start of this key is we've walked through who's grabbing which bots specifically. And I'll point those out through here if I can. Now, because we don't have a stealth class or any night elves, we are going to have to, I'm going to have to get a little creative, not creative, but we're going to have to take a quick second for me to get a shock bot early, because you can only actually get this bot with stealth. So I have this orange world marker down. This is where my group is going to wait for me to do this really quick. Now, it's always awkward with Druid stealth because it's a 6-second cooldown. Once you come out of stealth, you have to wait 6 seconds before going back into stealth. So I grab the shockbot here. I'm waiting, but I don't want to kill time, so I actually end up just going. I could have honestly just pressed prowl, but I didn't. So I pop an invis-pot for no reason. And then I'm going to pull the scrap bot because there's another shockbot right there that someone else in my group is going to get at the top of that little hill. And then we're going to go down to the bottom down here and do a larger pull with Lust. I'm just making sure that the scrap bot isn't going to pull the crawler, because that was kind of my biggest worry about doing this, is it was going to take too long for me to do this, and then the crawler would actually get to the scrap bot. So there's going to be a shock bot to the right here. I'm waiting for our group to kind of get situated, and we are pulling it onto the green. We're actually going to commit Lust to this pull because it is pretty scary. We have double coil bearer, scrap bots, Nathrazim, and then a troop, as well as a renormalizer. The biggest worry in this pull is going to be the shrink cast and the enlarge cast paired with something else. So we're making sure we're locking down the renormalizer. That's what we're focusing. I have Incarn popped. We have big CDs. We have, I think, 2 shock bots only because someone didn't pick up their bot yet. Always pick up your bots first. In a strat like this, it's important, especially when it's in a coordinated group. This bot up at the top of the hill right here, this should have already been picked up. And this welding bot. So not picking up these bots is a mistake, because doing less damage and you're susceptible to dying and or less healing. We're going to grab these bots in a second, though. This pull goes down actually pretty clean. I'm going to put down the moon marker, and then I'm going to be grabbing this welding bot here. So our Frost Mage is actually going to go down this path. There's this path that goes alongside the cliffside, and there's a shock bot at the end. There's no trash there. There is a patrol that kind of comes out of a cave really quick, but at this point in the dungeon, the way that the patrols are set routes, as soon as you slot the key, she knows that she'll be fine. Our Warlock's going to grab this shock bot. I have a shock bot. Warrior has a shock bot. And then the next shock bot is actually right down here. And our Shaman's going to be able to grab it. It's in this little sewer pipe. So now we're just kind of waiting. Again, like, this isn't a dungeon you have to fucking zug through. You don't have to go super, super fast. If you make sure you're getting all your bots and everyone's on the same page, this dungeon is pretty easy. We end up 2-chesting this key. We only have 1 death ever, and it's actually on the last trash pack right before the last boss, and we don't end up going back for another shock bot because it's not worth. Now, what's weird about the on-death affixes for this is that the very first slime that you pull, the no-meeting slimes, that first one will drop Sanguine, but none of the ones that it spawns will. So we just want to be mindful of that. This Acid Splash is annoying. As a tank, it's a little bit difficult to pick threat up, so I recommend your range. Try to stand a little bit closer to melee if they can. Slime Wave is the most important cast to interrupt. You can't actually kick it from the slime elementals. You have to stun it, disorient it, knock it, whatever that might be. But if it goes off and hits someone, more than likely at this level is going to kill someone. Now, unfortunately, we don't have a disease spell, so no one can get hit by this consume. If someone gets hit, they're probably dead, or we're going to have to, like, stop what we're doing. Everyone's going to have to off-heal, heal, eat, use a major defensive because it's pretty scary. Now, warriors can spell reflect it. So how it works is, I'll point it out on the next one, but essentially it sucks everyone in, and then a second later, it'll start pushing out this kind of like AoE. The first time you get hit by that AoE, it applies the debuff to you. If you spell reflect and it hits you as a warrior, it reflects the dot back onto the target, and then you're safe. You can stand in the pool, you can keep doing damage, you can have better uptime. Same thing with dispel classes. It doesn't do a lot of damage right when it hits you. It only applies a debuff. So as a monk player, as a paladin player, priest can also dispel it. When you get sucked in, you can just stand in melee, dispel it off yourself, and you'll be fine. As long as you're dispelling yourself right away. I don't know if like diffuse, I don't think diffuse and stuff works because diffuse is just for magic spells. But spell reflect is also insanely good. So prot warriors can use that as well. It does a ton of damage. The last monstrosity that we pull, our warrior's top damage on his details was zap followed by spell reflection. Followed by every other ability he has. So it's a very, very powerful tool to be able to reflect that onto the monstrosity. So again, we're pulling small here because these no meeting slimes, when they kind of burst and then they do this acid splash cast, it does a ton of group damage, especially with Grievous and Fortified. I just didn't want to risk it. There's no reason. Our goal in this key was literally just time it. Doesn't matter if it's 2-chested, doesn't matter if it's single-chested, we just wanted to time it. You typically do this in 3s. So as you can see here, I'm trying to always kind of pull a lurker, a slime, and an elemental. You'll see that pattern throughout. You never want to pull, you never really want to pull 2 lurkers, you never really want to pull 2 slimes, you never really want to pull 2 elementals. Now, of course, other groups, routing is subjective, but I found that when you have multiple slime waves, and especially when they're staggered, it gets just confusing for people to interrupt and stop them. It gets confusing for kicks. Obviously, there's a lot of AoE damage, especially if you pull 2 no-meeting slimes. The acid splash cast without major DRs and a lot of AoE will result in death. Also, Sanguine was kind of annoying this week. So as you can see, slime wave went out there. We got a stun / roar on it. We were talking that Warlock has Pat Stun, and I have Roar, but he said his wasn't up yet when I pulled it, but then it came up in time. I have Roar just to be safe. So Slime, Elemental, I'm not able to grab the Lurker because of the way that the Monstrosity is patrolling. Now, I would normally pull the Monstrosity and we'd be fine, but because of Sanguine, I didn't want Sanguine to die underneath the Monstrosity right as the Consume came out, because when that happens, then he's stuck there for 5 seconds. He's going to full heal from Sanguine. Didn't want that, so that's why we're also pulling relatively small. And unfortunately, in this video, I'm not tracking overall damage done. I'm only tracking damage done in 2 separate windows. So if you're looking at the details meters down below, it's just presenting the current pull. But as you can see, like, we're all doing like decent bit of damage every pull. We're getting out with Consume, and we'll probably get one more Consume. I can't remember if we get one more Consume or not here. But then we're going to continue clearing. So right now our goal is get as many welding and grease spots as possible. Now there are routes where you come to Gunker. This is at least what we've talked about, and we'll probably be running this upcoming week because it's based off of where the HK aerial unit is at, where you can come to Gunker first, clear the area, get bots, and then go to a different boss first. That is a possibility if you really want to make sure you have 5 welding bots, 5 shock bots, and 5 grease bots across your entire group. But I think we're going to end up with 4 grease spots, 4 welding, and 5 shock. So like we're good on shock, we're fine on grease, and as long as the squishier classes / Druid, meaning like the tank and the healer, have welding bot, it's increased healing and increased max health, so we'll be safe. So I'm marking down the grease spot up on X. Our mage is going to get that one. And then there's another one that I think our warrior grabbed a little bit ago on the opposite side of the little like river here. What's really cool is if you have the Mythic Dungeon Tool add-on, there will be little bot icons on the map. So you can look through and figure out which bots you need to grab or which bots you should move to. As a tank, especially in pugs, I like to put down markers on the bots. Whether people are going to pick them up or not, I normally haven't been caring. If they don't pick it up, they don't pick it up. This is when I'm running like 15s, because typically 15s are a joke. Most 15 of these I've ran, I've pretty much 3-chested. Though I have also failed Junkyards, believe it or not, which is never a good feeling. and this monstrosity will go down. Now, these monstrosities have a bot inside of them that will run to Gunker, and that's what activates the boss fight. Now, what's kind of cool about this is if you roar, or if you Tiger's Lust for the bot, I'm stuck on a root here, our lock got hit there. So we're actually going to commit Link. As you can see, his health got really low really quick. You don't really want to mess around with that debuff. That bot that's running right... Let's see if I can see it. Oh, no, I go off screen. These bots run to here. If you Tiger's Lust them, if you roar for them, if you have any kind of increased movement speed, you can use it on the bot. And now something else you can do, because for some reason they got rid of this. The bot's health used to appear on the side of the screen, just in like the base UI. I'm not sure if my UI is messing with it, but these bots, when they get gooped during the fight, you have to damage them out. But if you have a disease spell in your group, that disease spell player can actually just dispel the bot itself. If you target the bot and dispel it, it'll remove the debuff, which is really, really good. And what a lot of people don't realize about this fight is you don't need to be inside a bot the whole time. You don't need to run around with the bot. There are patterns where the bots will move to, and it's always going to be the same. It's very consistent. Our shaman got hit here on accident. So when he hits 50 energy, he sucks all the slime in, and when he hits 100 energy, he pushes slime out. Oops. At 50 energy, as long as there's no slime behind you, you're safe. At 100 energy, as long as there is a slime, you could be in the bot, or if there's a bot in front of you. So if a range is behind this spot back here, you'd be safe. You don't have to be in the bot. You can be either in front, behind, next to, and you'll see sometimes like I'll kind of just weave. I don't always step in the bot here. Now this fight with Grievous is, despite it being not a non-tyrannical, is very, very scary. Our shaman ends up ending at like 17.8k HPS and pretty much after just like a short 1.5 minute encounter. So here's the suckin'. I'm inside the bot just because there wasn't a lot of room, and then we're moving back around. So if you ever watch me stream these keys, you'll notice that I'm not even close to the bot sometimes, and it's because you don't need to be. So for this next toxic wave, I know that this melee bot should end up in this area, so I kind of cycle around the opposite way. Now you can make the argument, well, everyone should just stay inside the bot to DPS it out, to have stacked healing for stuff. On non-Grievous weeks, it doesn't really matter. You can actually see, let's see if I can see him here. Our Warlock is up on this hill. And that being up on this hill actually allows you to stay out of range of all of the slime mechanics and just fully tunnel the boss. So casters can actually stand up here as long as your healer is able to hit you. You can just full damage. Also, this purple marker works. Like right outside the sewer pipe here, you can also stand and you'll never get hit by any mechanic. Which is good because you can ignore mechanics if you do that. So yeah, that's Gunker. I'll eventually do boss guides on these maybe. We'll see. And then we're heading to Naeno. So this week, HK units, I think, started in Naeno's room, if I'm not mistaken. So you either had to go to Gobbamak first or go to Gunker first. So now that it'll be leaving soon, now we're just basically holding W. I know there's some groups that like to skip these scrap outs because they're just not efficient. We have a good bit of like single target / two target cleave in this comp, so we're just, again, our goal is to hold W. So this isn't like the most perfect route. We do fast track bots, and we do try to like make sure we're getting, adequate sized pulls for when people have CDs up, but for the most part we're holding W because shock bots are going to carry the damage anyways. So the big thing to be careful for here is the gyro scrap. Their typical rotation, it can get staggered though, is typically it's gyro, exhaust, repair. Sometimes the repair happens while they're in the exhaust. The exhaust smoke on the ground creates line of sight. So your melee or your range who are trying to kick need to step inside. So right here, we have a big tyrant. So I'm pulling the crawler. This is really scary. I don't recommend doing this unless you know for a fact your DPS and healer are ready. We're going to actually pot here on top of Incarn. That's another thing too. We have Incarn. I see that we have Link as well. And you could see all our defensives too. We have Frenzied Regen. We have Alter. We have Astral Shift, and then obviously the Tyrant is just doing big damage. I go for the knock there on Sanguine. It was a little close to the other pack, which would have been scary. The Scrapper gets stuck in Sanguine, unfortunately. Crawler goes down, and then we're going to finish off this Blaster. So this area is actually really, really scary. The patrol, this patrol over here is, as some of you might have experienced, very, very difficult. I always recommend clearing the entire room if possible before pulling it. You can CC the shrouded mob in the middle, the mechanic who's technically Zolgamex. You can CC her with you know, polymorph with Hex, with Roots, to prevent the patrol from moving if you CC that very center guy. And if that's the case, then you can kind of freely move around. As long as you're making sure you keep the CC up, you'll be fine. I'm pulling away here because I don't want to accidentally pull the crawler, because that could end pretty poorly. I see the blasters get split here, so my natural instinct is to try to group them up as best as possible so we get the Typhoon there. Now these blasters are annoying because, again, they don't have casts, they don't move very easily, they do this run and gun thing, so I'm going to go for the War Center to try to keep them still for a few more seconds. Run and gun Stormbolt comes out to keep them still, and then they're going to go back. So you can interrupt it, the run and gun, when they're moving. That's when they move. It's hard to land because it's a very fast cast, and they start moving immediately. So if you have an AoE stun, it's kind of hard to land. Both of the blasters go down at the same time, and then we're going to do Crawler by itself because we have Link, we have Tide Totem if we need to, and then we also have Shout. So Scrap Cannons need to spread. It chunked our Warlock there. And then this first Shock Coil. So we're going to Shout, and everyone else is going to kind of chill, and then we're going to save our other major CD for the next one. Making sure that we're kicking the mechanic on both Repair and Overclock. Overclock makes the Crawler do giga damage. Or it'll make the damage come out faster. It's just like I think it's a haste buff, if I'm not mistaken, the Overclock. So we're going to Roar. We had Kick, but we roared for fun, for finesse. I'm going to knock the mechanic right before Sanguine drops, and then finish off this Crawler. We committed the Tide Totem to keep everyone healthy. And at this point, I'm just letting our healer know, hey, grab mana. Something that has been unique about this season, compared to last, is that healer mana exists again. And as a tank player, it's important to track your healer's mana. Make sure you're always glancing at this every once in a while. Giving your healer a break between pulls, or just letting your healer know, like, if you're in Discord with them, just like, hey, I'm going to be fine for the start of this pull, sit, and then obviously come to the pull a little later. So I'm going to go for the mass route, and we're going to line of sight this group back. And the reason I'm doing this is so the blaster comes back a little bit, and that the blaster, even if he does decide to run this way towards the patrol, he won't go close enough. And then the Scrap Hound Borks are what we need to watch out for here. It's a giant frontal that faces a random player. It's not at the tank, so the tank doesn't have control over it. And they need to you need to dodge it. I think it silences you if you get hit. I should know some of these things, but I just don't get hit by them, so big brain strats. Keeping them a little spread here because I know the blaster's hard to move, and I don't want him running into Sanguine like he almost did right there. So the Scrap Hound goes down, and now we're going to focus the blaster. Now the patrol is across the way. I have Incarn, and we have Link, and we have Lust. So we're going to Lust this pull, because this pull is insane. You can watch the healing and the DPS meters for this. It's going to start really strong. So here's what I recommend. And maybe I'm wrong about this because I have my priorities backwards. But we focus the ads in the pull down before Zolgamix. We don't even worry about Zolgamix here. We make sure we CC the bat, which we got a polymorph on. Beautiful polymorph. And we're like you can see that the channel there, the blood siphon, it went off for it was kickable for like a second or two, and we didn't kick right away because most of us are focusing on kicking, or just like focusing down the ads. So I'm gonna go for a hibernating on the bat, and we also got a poly on it too. And Incarn just now faded, and now Zolgamix is at 6%. So instead of spending 2 minutes on Zolgamix or wiping and losing our shock bots, we decided to commit Lust. Oh, this was a horrible barrier. When did that come out? This barrier happened at the very, look at this. Blood barrier now. 4k health. A 4k health blood barrier. Oh, Lord. So, that's nuts. That's crazy. So, we, again, our goal for that pack, whether we have Lust up or not, our CD is up, focus the ads down the run and guns because it removes all of the major group damage that overlapping with the blood siphon will kill your group. So the Lust there, I think, was a really good commit because now we'll have it up for the last burn. More often than not, even on Tyrannical weeks, I would make the argument you really don't need Lust for a lot of these bosses. Shock bots carry. Also, just their mechanics are very, very simple. Moving to my chair. We have a couple bots over here. I didn't pick up a Grease yet, so I'm picking it up now just for the little extra haste. Mechanic gets stuck in the Sanguine. Our Frost Mage, if you haven't played the Frost Mage before, their damage lives and dies based off of their Icy Veins cooldown. And unfortunately, I do track it, but it's very wonky in Omni CD. It doesn't know how to track the cooldown reduction properly. But what she was saying in Discord is I need to pull because I won't have Icy Veins for boss. So I tagged these scrap bots, It was actually an accident that I grabbed the scrap bots. I was going to, but it was an accident. Because I was like, okay, what can we pull? Maybe we'll just pull the scrap bots. I didn't want these in my route, but I ended up rerouting the dungeon midway through. And to get the Icy Veins back off of CD so she can have it for boss. They have a conduit called Icy Propulsion. And that conduit, based off of their crits while Icy Veins is active, is going to lower the cooldown of Icy Veins by a certain amount every crit. So the idea for the Frost Mage is pull enough consistently to make sure they always have Icy Veins for every pull, because that's the name of the game, 100% Icy Veins uptime. This is a crazy Sanguine pool. He rolls into it for a second, but he gets no Sanguine healing, so chef's kiss placement. Make sure we're kicking Tazes. We're all on Trixie until Naeno comes in, and then everyone hard swaps to Naeno. Make sure you're facing Naeno away from your group, but it's also important that your DPS in your group, make sure they're not on top of you or strafing into where you were. So Roadkill comes out. As soon as he gets back, he's going to do a Bolt Buster. Our Frost Mage sends a Frozen Orb here and misses completely. Yeet. Gone. Sorry. Sorry, not sorry. Always pull them on top of Trixie. Naeno on top of Trixie for cleave. It didn't look like I was moving there because of the Bolt Buster, but the Bolt Buster is a spell queue that doesn't move. So this is also a frontal that's dodgeable. So I got hit here. It didn't matter. My health didn't move, but you can dodge the Bolt Buster, but it will kill your DPS. No doubt in my mind. All right, but since we cleared these scrap bots, we actually had a route where we would actually sneak through, go around, and then pull on the backside, because I think Trogs ultimately are easier, especially when you have a Frost Mage in your group who requires things to be grouped up, and a lot of things at the same time, getting a lot of crits. Because I don't think Trogs are that dangerous to pull as long as you're kicking the Shaman's grip, the Hex, the Grasping Hex. So we're trying to stay close. Now, these Grunters fixate. People get confused, I think. I always watch, like, Hunters, like BM Hunters specifically. They run around in circles trying to kite the Grunters that are on them, and it's like, dude, just come into melee and chill. That's how we get cleave. So we are just basically AoEing this stuff down. Now, this isn't the optimal route. Like, this was more of a, okay, we cleared those scrap bots. How can we make this a little bit easier? So we just are basically, at this point, we're holding W. So here's the Shaman. I'm setting focus. And we're watching out for the Grasping Hex. Now, I go to pull the Shaman up here. Or not the Shaman. Well, it's a Shaman that turns into an Infiltrator. And if you saw it, and Egg, I doubt you'll watch this. Egg is our healer. I tagged this guy, right? And as you can see, there's a Grunter. This Grunter gets pulled. But Grunters fixate. They don't actually come to the tank right away. The Grunter is fixating our Shaman, who's down here. Or maybe here. Which means that it's going to pull this hill. So you'll see in a second, all this trash is going to start coming in. So we have a second Shaman, another Trash Tosser, another Grinder. This is scary. This was not planned. We recovered really nicely here. The reason why this pull is scary is because of the combination of the Shaman's root with the Trash Tossers throwing like bombs at your feet. If you kick the hexes, no one gets rooted, and then most of the pull is fine, as long as no one's getting rooted. There's a couple of enrages in here, but honestly, like most tanks, like if a Guardian Druid can survive it, any tank can survive it, I'm pretty sure. But a Guardian Druid, I felt completely safe on this pull, even with enrages going off, and I wasn't soothing because I don't think it was worth the global. And I'm making sure that Sanguine's not falling on any of these other mobs, and we're just kind of like backing up slowly but surely. The Trash Tossers, holy shit, it's a tongue twister. I wanted to leave up here just so they don't get any Sanguine healing, and then we're gonna move up this way. Now again, these guys just like throw trash. They do a little bit of damage. They throw these bombs. They jump up in the air and they kind of like shift around. These guys are really hard to move. Similar to like the running gunners. But they actually stayed pretty nicely stacked, at least enough for like just general cleave. And then we're good. So that was an accident. Frozen Orb goes and hits this Grunter. The Frozen Orbs in this key were so whack. They were so bad. They were being sent and like thrown just everywhere but at targets. Which was fine. We were laughing about it. So malfunctioning scrap bots, the ones without the head that are sparking from the top, will eventually cast a little thing called self-destruct protocol. Once this is going off, they will just blow up immediately. Even if they're Sanguine underneath their feet, if that cast is already going, they'll just die immediately, and it gives you count. So that's why you're seeing me pull those two of them, because they're kind of free %. They are dangerous when you first pull them because there's Gyro Scrap, which is really scary for melee. They also do exhaust, but those ones that are malfunctioning don't cast repair protocol. So you don't have to worry about kicks. You just kind of have to not be in the gyro scrap. So as long as your melee are watching out for that, or your tank's calling it, you're pretty good here. Now these bullies are probably the scariest thing in here. Because like that headbutt there, not enraged, did 40% of my health. Now there are times when you'll pull these two together and they're perfectly in sync. They cast headbutt at the same time, they cast shockwave at the same time, and they cast enrage at the same time. So if you miss an enrage or you get just slapped by double, if you get slapped by double headbutt, you're dead. So if you ever see two headbutts coming out at the exact same time, use a major defensive. I'm saving survival instincts for that occasion if it happens. We're getting kick on enrages and we're just going to keep them spread. I see that the one bully is about 10% lower, so I'm going to start moving here shortly. And we start moving, Sanguine drops, and we're good. This guy doesn't get any Sanguine healing, I get headbutt, and we're good. Good to go. Going into Gobbamak, we have about 8 minutes left on the timer. We have 10% left trash left to do, and then we have, of course, the final boss of the instance, which is the aerial oppression unit. This fight is super simple, but I don't think a lot of people understand, because I always see people either not soap with me, or they will like not run to a pylon to drop their debuff. So you get hit, and then these pylons that are around the room, you take your debuff to this little overcharged mana battery looking icon. You run to the shockbot or you run to one of these coils. Now Kalea thought she hit this one, but it wasn't, so she had the debuff still. I still have the debuff, and I just was like, okay, fine, I'll hit the shockbot or the spot here, and then X was still free. On a 4 week it wouldn't matter, but on a tyrannical week she probably would have died. You need to make sure you drop your debuffs. Now in a coordinated group you can typically assign. We didn't really assign, we kind of just went into the fight and we just did whatever. But I put down this world marker, and then this next cast, so it should be a little bit better. So Kalea is going to go here, our mage, our Locke's going to go back to the corner behind me, I'm going to go over to X, and our Shaman's going to go to the bot. So at this point we're set. The Rumble does a lot of damage. We do have Shout active here though for it. And then after that, it's pretty much free. So you have this phase where you take a bunch of damage, you heal it back up, and then you're doing nothing. The coils are killing all the ads, Gobbamak's just slapping your tank a little bit, and then this bot's swirling around, yeah. This fight's an absolute fucking joke. We link on this just for the DR, and I'm gonna cool tech here. Door of Shadows to a Skull Bash charge back to keep it in the frozen orb. Not that it matters. That was just for a flex. And then we're done, and we're heading up to what's his face? The oppression unit. Now this is a long run back, but it doesn't matter. We're able to mount. We're chilling. This is a good time for the shaman to recover a little bit of mana, our healer. We're going to be getting our cooldowns back for the next pull. Now, there are a ton of ways to do this. I've seen people go up to either side and pull around the center pack. I've seen people invis up to the boss and like just pull more efficient trash earlier on in the dungeon. But we're going to keep this really simple. We're going to avoid this small... 3-target cleave is kind of meh. I know I mentioned earlier that our kind of 3-target cleave is fine in this with this comp. But we're going to skip this patrol. This trash over here is really efficient, especially with things like Incarn. So I have Incarn, I saved it, I didn't use it on the last boss. I'm going to basically pull this entire area. Now, if I wanted to, and I might be doing this in future routes, is I might pull all of this, and then we might just invis skip up. But we're going to end up pulling that pack right at the top of the hill. And it is a scary pull, and we're going to end up having a death there. But the death was, well, I'll explain it once we get there. The priority in here is making sure you're kicking the renormalizers, and then these troops, the troopers, they apply a really nasty debuff to the tank if they actually can hit me. These guys haven't applied any debuff yet, though. They apply a pretty nasty bleed, but honestly, any Kyrian will remove it. It's like not a big deal. Making sure that we're waiting for the patrol to go down the hill here. Finishing off that pull. Now, we're going to go over by about 4%, but we have 5 minutes left. To 2 chests, that is. We have 12 minutes left in the key. We're not really too worried about it. Priority here is Renormalizer, followed by the Coil Bearer. Now, the Cavalry. This is an interesting little note. It's a pretty short range, and it also is affected by Z-axis. Z-axis is... I like to cater to the Canadian fan base. But this spray here, if you're beneath it, like if your full character is beneath this spray, you won't get hit. So everyone was safe here. Some people were running up, but that's fine. Or if it charges downhill and shoots into the floor and it's beneath you, you won't get hit by it. Now the range is finicky. It takes a little bit of practice. I ran a bunch of keys in BFA. So we're just ignoring the cavalry, letting it stay out there. The only time it's going to be scary is if it comes into melee. There's a sleep pool underneath us, so I'm going to start moving a little bit here. Rapid fire is in group. It's at me, but it's going away from the group, so we're fine. We're staying here. Renormalizer is about to die. I get a knock. The cavalry's not in Sanguine, which is great. The other guys die. We're cutting up the hill. Now here's the problem: is everyone is running with me except our mage. The charge comes off. The rapid fire faces us. We go behind the cavalry. Everyone but our mage. So I say, hey, you're not safe. And then, because this frontal is also now facing downhill, and this cavalry is shooting off to the side now. It's rotating towards us. She blinks late into the rapid fire here and gets just fucking obliterated. Get wrecked. So, probably should have taken the frontal. That was kind of a bad call on my part, because, like, I mean, when I basically said, hey, you need to get up here now. So, if she'd actually, I think, came up at that point, I think it would have been safe. She would have been safe and fine. But because she waited, like, the extra global or two, the cavalry had already rotated around. So, probably would have been better to take the frontal. But it's not a big deal. So, we don't have full shock bots here. But it's not worth for us to run out and, like, get her another bot, or for us to wait, like, the minute and a half. 3 minutes is plenty of time. You can phase this man pretty quickly, and then as long as you can one cycle it with lust, you're good. You're golden. Dodge big zap on the ground. I've seen tanks hold him in the center. I don't understand that logic. The center will always get hit no matter how you orient yourself in the room. So pulling off to these, like, the edge of the room in the quadrant has a chance for it to, no one has to move ever. I've seen runs where it just kind of keeps going across the center. Our shaman is out here just to be safe. Ideally we should all be stacked for healing, but won't matter. But, like, look, none of us have to move except the shaman. If we all stayed here, it would have been fine. Now the bot's a really good spawn here. I'm going to get the mastered on this set. This set's going to come in. We can either get stun. I can typhoon when it gets a little bit closer. We can also just throw a stun at it or something. Lots that we can do with this X1 bot. So I get a typhoon there to knock it closer. Now if you're super lucky, all three will spawn together as a druid, and you can just master it and call it a day. So we go south side, the scarier side. People from Chicago will understand that joke. And at this point, we're just like, be safe. There's some fancy shit you can do. You can lock a gate he lock gated from down here. You can place a lock gate on this corner to, like, here. You can jump over these beams. You can use immunities. Like, there's a lot you can do. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a simple Door of Shadows and weave through. Now on Grievous, we're taking some ticking damage here. Grievous is a very scary week to do this because you can bleed out pretty quickly if you don't have everyone alive or your healer's not up here. So what I did is I set focus to this overcharge station, and this energy is going to be draining. When this hits 0, that's when it phases. Now it used to be over here. I don't know why they removed it, or maybe it used to be at the top. I don't remember, but there used to be a way you could see this without having to set focus to it, and a lot of people don't understand that. When you finish this, right when you finish it, the burn phase starts, and you have 30 seconds. Now, unfortunately, what a lot of groups do is everyone's up here, everyone's channeling down, the channel, it's done, and then it takes you 10 to 15 seconds to get back down to the bottom, especially when you're on the south side. The south side has a longer platform, so it's harder to get down to the boss. I think actually it takes you an extra second or two, just like mathematically, based off the distance. So you basically want your DPS. You can see our lock and our shaman already went down at 10 energy, 14 energy. And you go down by stepping in a bot. The bot will send you back to the start. You take a little bit of damage, but it's not a big deal. Step in the bot, step in the bot. We're at 2%. All of our DPS are right down here on the mini map. You can see they're ready to fucking go. I have dash, right? So, like, I have a way to quickly get back to the oppression unit, and we're going to basically be able to lust right away. So I'm going to finish the channel here. Boom. I'm going to pop dash, and we're going to be running here. And they're already doing damage to it. So they've already started to burn, which gives us an extra 4 seconds to actually kill this. So you can see here at the top, we have 20 seconds. We pop Incarn, we pop our cooldowns, we have Lust going, we have Rallying Cry for our big Tyrant plays. Once Tyrant's out, this is a game set match. So we're going to 2 chests with about a minute left until the single chest, and we have 8.5, almost 9 minutes left on the timer. And that's a Junkyard. That's a Junkyard 24. Not bad. I easily think that this group, this comp, this same route could probably run a couple levels higher than this. I don't know. I might be wrong about that, as I often am. Now, some people get they get overconfident when you're in this key. Never get overconfident when you're in this place, because the problem with getting overconfident is you're like, oh, shockbot damage is really, like, carrying, like, we're blasting through this key. but then they start to like double pulls up, and you still take a lot of damage. You do a lot of damage, but you still take a lot of damage. So when you start doubling pulls up, it gets really scary, and once you start losing shock bots, this dungeon gets really hard. A lot of these mobs have like a little bit of a bloated health pool because of shock bots being in the game. Also having grease bot and welding bot having naturally more health, more haste. Like all of these things kind of factor into why we're able to constantly 2-chest this key at a higher level. And don't get overconfident. Don't overpull. Like you saw through Gunker's area, I'm pulling 1, 2, 3 targets at a time. Still 2-chested the key out of 24. Now, again, 24 is not crazy impressive. I think at the time of completing this was world 400th, like 450, or not world, US, like 400th, world, like 1500. It's not an impressive key, but I think a lot of people are maybe wondering why Junkyard is commonly 2-chested. That's why. It's all about bots. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this little explanation and run through. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I normally stream keys like this, but this key was actually done off stream. We just wanted to kind of have a night to ourselves, just to kind of just like chill, relax, and not listen to me answer questions for you guys in stream chat. So I will be streaming later today. Servers are down right now because of maintenance and everything. But I hope you guys learned something from this video. Huge shout out to my Patreons, Linus and Brian. You guys are fucking legends, by the way. And yeah, I will catch you guys all in the next one. Peace.